Hey there everyone, hope you all doing well. Welcome to our workshop called Lemon Office. Funny thing guys, we actually came up with this name after the workshop was finished. Like, to be honest, at first while I was recording the course, the workshop, I had no idea whatsoever what should I call it. Anyway, today we'll be having our introductory session, so let me start by telling you a short story. As far as I can remember, I always liked working on projects such as industrial designing. That's why in 2020, more precisely March 2020, I created a model in Revit. You know what, let me just show it to you why just talking about it. This is the model that I created. As you can see, it is quite simple as well as classy, nothing complicated. Then I created my render and went on and called this the Industrial Breeze Workshop. Now, I tried to use some specific elements during the modeling process. However, again, guys, this was a few years ago, so I didn't use some of the elements that we use today in Revit. For example, I used some simple beams here or the vent system here. I created the models of these quite manually. And at the time, I actually thought that the detailing work was quite good. So I used Inkscape, Lumion, or Twinmotion to create my render. Based on which, and also my model, I published a rendering course. Then later on, when we started doing more and more executive works, we reached this project that we were supposed to do an industrial interior designing for a specific factory. Well, the employer and us had quite a very similar taste. We presented our ideas and our designs. They were accepted and we started working. Now the project is done. Let me show you the result. Okay guys, here's the project of which I'm speaking. You might have seen some pictures of it actually by now on some of our platforms. Now the thing is, during this project we find out that we should actually think over our modeling process. I mean, we faced some issues, some aspects, such as the cost of things, or the fact that we should actually consider the current conditions of a project before getting the required elements. Like, for example, the current conditions of this specific project was this main structure or these old piping systems, or we had this vent system here, for which we actually used extrusion for setting and distributing the vents in different zones of our project. Moving on to other pictures, you'd see that we've added lighting systems, and again, you can see the main structure and basically other elements that we have. And you can also see myself sitting here as well. Okay, anyway. So basically, we find out that we should change our modeling process. Even if we didn't want it to work on a project as a beam modeler, we find out that we should go about the modeling process considering both the current conditions as well as the designing conditions, all right? I mean, for example, let's say we wanted to add a red color on these pipes here. Now, if we didn't consider any of the aspects that I told you, we couldn't get the result that we wanted. So overall, we find out that during a modeling process using Revit, details and also the correct usage of current conditions are quite essential. That's why we actually started using the structural elements as well as the MEP elements that we got in Revit. Like, for example, we started using many different structural elements for working on different areas of this project. I mean, for example, we created some structural families specifically for areas like this one. And for the pipes and also for the vents, for example, we used MEP options and items that we got in Revit. And by the way, while working on these, we didn't want it to go through any, for example, calculations. So using these items was in fact quite helpful, more precisely in the modifying process. However, guys, if you are in fact familiar with the mechanical discipline in Revit, you would be able to do this even better, like you can draw accurate sketches for your piping system. So, that's why we decided to publish a workshop first, and then for that next project, which would be this one more precisely, yet another industrial project, we have a current condition again. Let's check what we got. Like, for example, if you take a look at this part, we got these pipings on the wall. Or, for example, we got these electrical panels as well as their supports. And then based on these, we actually added more supports and also more lighting system so that we wouldn't change the interior area that much. I mean, we wanted to have something similar to before, okay? Now, the thing is, later on, we started getting more and more of such projects, and we figured that it won't be quite logical to go through the modeling process each time and with each project. Like, for example, manually model the supports each time. Instead, we should use the equipments that we got better. Like, for example, we created some lighting systems that we used in several projects, actually, like in here, or, for example, in this project. Now, guys, this is actually another project that will be started next year, but the thing is, it's not actually an exposed one. Nonetheless, we've actually used many pre-made families. Like, for example, there's this lighting up here, and we can also find this model, this family, in this project as well. And then yet another project in which we used such families. So basically, guys, what I'm trying to say here is that we should be predominant enough so that we would be able to work faster when we actually have a lot of work on our hands. And this actually would be the main reason behind me publishing this whole workshop. Now, what I've exactly done here was remodeling this whole area, specifically based on this model, this project, yet with more additional executive detailing. Like, for instance, for the vents here, I used Revit's own fabrications instead of creating the models manually. Now, the same goes for these supports here that you can see, or, for example, these piping systems and their supports again. Then we got these hexagonal beams. We actually created some families for them in Revit. Now, this way, we are able to use such families quite easily in other projects whenever we want to. Then we also have these IPE sections. Also, we got these hanging beams. Let me zoom in on them to check the details more closely. We actually got a specific dimension here, I guess 8x4 or 6x4 maybe. So guys, all of these are actually parametric families, which means that you can, for example, control their size quite easily, or you can create schedules based on them whenever you want to, or you would be able to control the elevation code. Like, none of these here are aligned. We don't have the same elevation code here. Now, it won't be logical to apply such modifications manually because it's going to be extremely time-consuming. Okay, moving on, we have different models, different families of lightings. For example, these hanging lights, or for example, these lights that are set underneath our beams. Then we also can see some examples of metallic doors that we would usually see in departmental interior designing. And then if we take a look at this part, we would see this beautiful interior area. And then after all of this, after we went through everything completely, we can start talking about the material that we would need for this project. We can, for example, discuss some or even all of the techniques that I used for creating the required materials. Like, for example, take a look at the floor here. It's kind of like I added a layer of color on the surface of our floor, which seems like some sort of an extrusion. And if we move toward this area, you would again be able to see, well, again, let's call them extrusions here as well. It's kind of like we have used a brush in real life for drawing this pattern or setting this design here. Alright, then again, you can see the whole lighting systems from this angle this time and their families. Oh, and by the way, we're going to talk about some techniques and tricks regarding the rendering process as well. And also, don't forget the windows, actually. As you can see, we have some old-fashioned designs for these windows, which we're going to discuss completely during the workshop. Alright, guys? I hope that you would find this workshop beneficial and it would help you become a complete professional when it comes to using Revit for your modeling process and using all of its techniques and tricks. I truly wish that you become predominant enough to create your models, your sections, your renders, and basically anything that you need as easily as possible. Alright guys, enough introduction. We're going to start our work from the next session, which actually would be our first one. So, see you all then.